position of the snap for what you'll see for these for the front of my Suarez as well as the Dimitrienko. You can see his arms are very out and extended. This is kind of the easiest way to do it. You can make it more difficult. You don't always have to use weights on the ankles. You can make it more difficult by just simply pulling back the arms. It gives them less leverage and actually makes you use your core a lot more. And here's David Sender. Happy to be in the gym doing some extended push-ups for me. So those are two just examples of the strength. And then push back. You can see basically the you can see the drop. He's slightly past 90. Toes are starting to initiate, and then you can see the pushback. See the shoulders kind of shift from a little bit sunken in. There's a pushback, kind of like you would kind of set back for a Yamawaki or for a reverse hack on high bar. The stretch will continue from about horizontal down to about 90 degrees. So you watch the stretch in the chest and the hips will kind of happen right at bar height after the pushback. The stretch big in the hips, big in the chest. So bar right at vertical when the hips start to close for the snap. I'm getting ahead of myself here in the slides, but so yeah, so right at the bottom, so you have this big stretch, push back and horizontal stretching in the chest and hips till about vertical, where the snap begins, and the toes and knees start to kind of take the lead right there at the bottom. We talked about the setups the same. You watch the drop, the dip to about 90, right there. Push back, the set, kind of like catching timing. Stretch starts about horizontal, big through the hips and chest. Head's dropping back. Yeah, this wasn't one of his best ones, but see how long the knees drive? He hasn't started the twist. He's almost done half the flip. Shoulder sits up in the twist very late. So he's good at patience, and he needs to be because he throws his head back, but he's patient into the twist. He's able to get back around about horizontal. So. This is a D value. It's significantly easier than a Dimitrienko. So you'll see. I think you're going to see a lot of guys. Well, the problem with that is right off the end of the bars, your shoulders set back and are kind of right on uprights. It makes it a little bit harder. I mean, you do get some bounce. It's nothing like high bar, but you do get some bounce on the bars, and he's obviously right in the middle. But what it does is that kind of eliminates, the turning in between the bars. A lot of guys will get hung up having to twist and somehow thread the needle through the bars. So doing it off the edge definitely helps a lot with that. Just to get the initial one or two out of the way and be like, oh, I didn't go crooked or anything like that. So we did a few of those, but you can see the mat slide, the guys are in front. Just slide under. He didn't travel that much. You shouldn't. But like I said, depending on if you rush it, if you go early, don't wait for kind of the torso to come up right parallel with the rails. If you're rushing a little bit early, you are going to travel more. If you throw your head back, you're going to tend to travel more.
But initially, let's say you want to just do the front upright flip over.
This is his own skills. The front upright Tanaka. This is ridiculous. Takes it over. Yeah, that's insane. So that'll be a win whenever you compete that competition. But you can see a little bit of a difference in have that much of a depth, but he's able to kind of catch himself because he's so strong and drop into this thing and still have enough support. Yeah, he just lays away. So I thought that was just a cool video that I caught him doing. So drop cast starts from this inverted position here. Heels initiate, and you see the big shift forward in the shoulders. Right here. But butt leads the way the entire time. Tell it about vertical, where the heels finally catch up into a very long heel drop snap. And we'll get back to that in a second. Start to lift. Heels come to about right at the plane of the parallel bars. And then this is kind of another one of those individual things. You'll see guys kind of go a little earlier, a little bit later. Tyler kind of starts to a little bit earlier. Paul's a little bit more patient in the skill, goes to about 30 degrees past the bars. But right here's where I kind of like to say it, call it like an energy shift or an exchange or a rotational momentum exchange. Basically what you're doing is you're creating all this momentum, this fast heel drive snapping right here till about right here to where you kind of exchange that momentum, which is the sit-up. So you stop it, and then the head and chest lift up to kind of get into the snap. And that's pretty much that's the most important part, and that's where athletes struggle a lot with how that's supposed to be done. And a lot of it has to do, once again, just like with Dimitrienko's chest and head position. You want to tell me what goes wrong right here? Yes, exactly. And I know I mentioned that earlier, but on the first one, but watch the difference. I'm going to pull that up. And that's a big thing because that's a huge tendency. Where is this? So there's a big tendency to do exactly what he did here. And he just hopped up, wasn't thinking much about it. And this is usually the most common mistake when people or kids start developing this. He does this first part's great, shoulder shift, butt leads. He'll start to really drive, he drops his head. And that's, if this happens, I'm totally ruining one of my later slides where I ask a question, but does anyone know what's going to happen here? I'm going to do just a really nice forward roll on the parallel bars and wonder where the lift went. Keeping the head neutral until about 30 when you have vertical momentum at its highest, heels are driving up. It's almost like a block. The head allows that momentum to go up. You drop your head, the heels are just going to continue to drive over your head, and you're going to do a nice forward roll on the bar. So, shame on you, Paul, but I don't have time. We're in the middle of workout trying to capture these videos. So, he does it correctly on the second one, though, when he has to go back up, rise the handstand. Watch him do it here. Head stays more neutral. He's able to rise up. So he does one of these to kind of warm up. Really, you can do this for a while until you start seeing really quick, fast, strong, powerful heel drive in the back. Once they get that, I mean, the progression from here on out is actually pretty easy. Drill on floor for kind of teaching the sit-up. The sit-up is kind of an interesting concept where we have that kind of rotational momentum exchange. Yeah, exactly. Because it is weird. You're inverted, sitting up kind of against gravity can be difficult. And so you just give them a little bit of a pop. And they have to kind of feel the sense of the flip right there. So in conjunction with the good heel drive snapping up in the back, they can kind of feel the sit-up. That's really the two elements you have to put together for them to kind of get this and stay on top of the bars.